Hi and welcome to MTG Manuscript. Today I'm just going to talk about modern event deck. Yes, the deck list has came out this week, a few days ago if I'm not wrong, and it seems like there's a lot of people that is hating the modern event deck at 75 msrp USD. It seems that a lot of people are not satisfied with the cards that's being in the modern event deck itself, but I really disagree with a majority of the people who are against or upset about modern event deck not having fetches, not having bitterblossoms, not having maybe even a shock lens. I think they are not really that big of deal being the fact that the modern event deck is supposed to be an introductory deck to new players for them to ease into modern. So yeah, and let's just go through some of the cards in the modern event deck and you'll see what I mean. And first up we have our Elspeth Knight Errant. It's a 4 royalty planeswalker for 4 mana, and it by itself, Elspeth, is about a $25 card, and yeah, that is like a quarter of or third of the value of a modern event deck, and it is very much a powerhouse in black-white tokens. So with Elspeth in it, I think is pretty cool. And next we have our very awesome Sword of Feast and Famine, an artifact equipment for 3. Equipped creature has +2/+2, has protection from black and green. When it deals damage, that player discards a card and you untap all lands that you control. And yes, Sword of Feast and Famine isn't the ideal equipment card in a black-white token deck. I think the Sword of Mind and Body, is it? Oh no, Fire and Ice, sorry. Sword of Fire and Ice is a better card for black-white tokens, but again, the Sword of Feast of Famine is about 25 bucks, and yeah, being in the modern event deck is just quite good to new players who are not able to afford such swords in the first place, and I think it's pretty awesome to have it in the event deck. And next card, let's see, we have our Spectral Possession, definitely fitting to be in the event deck. A sorcery spell for 3, and you can put 3 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield, so pretty cool card. And next one we have our Path to Exile. This is by far, I think, the best white removal in modern. And what it does is exile target creature. Its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card, put a card onto the battlefield, tap, and shuffle his or her library. And for Path to Exile, I think there's 3 in the modern event deck, and each of them is about 7 bucks, so that's already 21 bucks, and plus Sword of Feast and Famine and Elspeth Knight Errant is as close as you can get to MSRP. And that's only just 3 of the cards in the modern event deck, so I don't really see what's the fuss about the value stuff. And next we have a Lingering Souls, one of the very good card for vintage if you are playing black-white tokens. The good thing about this is not just its first ability by putting 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. The best thing about this is its flashback. And you can just get around counter spells, get around graveyard plays. If this is your battlefield, you can cast it for twice the amount of times. So having 2 to 3 in your deck is actually twice the amount that you could have this. So pretty nice. And next up, the next card that we have is Inquisition of Kozilek. It is no Thoughtseize, yes, but Inquisition of Kozilek in modern is almost as good as Thoughtseize, and this card by itself is, I think, maybe 7 to 8 bucks. So again, it's just adding value and getting your deck closer to whatever that you are forking out to. And $70 plus MSRP is not that expensive considering all these cards already in the deck. And yeah, so Inquisition of Kozilek, sorcery spell for 1 black. Target player reveals his or her hand, you choose a non-land card from it with converted mana cost 3 or less, that player discards that card. And yeah, the argument is there's only 2 of these in the modern event deck is just not enough. And again, I'd like to stress that the modern event deck is introductory for new players to modern. You don't really want to give them every single thing as is supposed to be modified by the player, supposed to be modified by yourself. And you may not like Inquisition of Causos, you can sell them off and you can get Causos instead. So I think it is pretty decent to have this in the modern event deck. And the next card that we have is Relic of Progenitors. Now we are moving into our sideboard. And frankly speaking, Relic of Progenitors is a very decent sideboard against graveyard plays. Yes, there are better cards out there, but I think this is a fair card for sideboard. And on to our next card, we have our Kataki Warwitch, our 2/1 spirit creature for 2. All artifacts at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this artifact unless you pay 1. So again, a very good card against affinity decks. And this by itself is, if I'm not wrong, $2 to $3, so pretty nice. Again, more value to your modern event deck. So yeah, there you go. And next one we have our Dismember. Another very good sideboard. Target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn, and you can pay 1 generic and 2 black friction mana, meaning that you can pay 2 life instead of 1 black for them. And again, this I think is also quite some value. I think it's maybe $1 or $2, and it's a really good sideboard cards against stuff that's indestructible. So there you go, another great sideboard for our modern event deck. And next up we have our Benton Forge Tender, our 1/1 Kifkin Wizard for 1 white with protection from red. Sacrifice this and prevent all damage from a red source of your choice will deal this turn. Yes, this is no Hero of Blade Hole, and its value is no way comparable to Hero of Blade Hole, but again I think it's a decent card against red aggro and burns and red dead wins and burn deck. So I have generally no complaints about the modern event deck, as Wizard has already said that it is introductory to modern play. And looking at our land base, we have our Wind Breeze Heights, our land with Hideaway. This land enters the battlefield tap. When it does, look at the top 4 cards of your library, exile 1 face down, then put the rest on the bottom of your library. You can tap at 1 white mana. Then you can pay white, tap, you play the exile card without paying its mana cost if you attack with 3 or more creatures this turn. So again, I think this is a very fitting for a black-white tokens deck, and this itself, Wind Breeze Heights, is, if I'm not wrong, about $7, and you have 4 of them in your deck. That's already about $30. So yeah, there you go. And next up, our next land is Isolated Chapel. And again, Isolated Chapel, it is our mana fixer for our black-white tokens deck, and it by itself is, I'm not wrong, about $4 to $5. So pretty cool. And again, a lot of people will be saying that it's kind of weird putting 4 of these, I'm not wrong. Yep, 4 of these main boarding when you only have I think 5 planes and 4 swamps. So the decision to put this in the modern event deck is quite by Wizards, but again, there's value in this card. If you don't like this, playing this main board, you could always trade them off and get yourself maybe some Scrylands, or maybe even Shocks. Trading 2 for 1 shock might be good. And on to our next card, we have our City of Brass, and whenever it becomes tapped, it deals 1 damage to you. You add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Controversies, a lot of stuff going on with City of Brass when it's in this event deck. Honestly speaking, a 2 mana color black-white token decks don't really need City of Brass, but again, there's quite some value in this land, so I don't see any problem trading these off again. And next up, we have our case of Causos. Again, our black-white mana base, and when you add a black or white mana, it deals 1 damage to you. So there you go. This is the whole of the major cards in our modern event deck. And the reason why Stating all these cards is you can actually see that the value of these cards is actually quite worth the MSRP of $75 to I think $80 US. And again, I like to stress that this is not a top tier deck, and Wizards does not mean for this to be a top tier deck for Modern. This is supposed to be introductory deck, and for all the complaints that there aren't fetchers, there aren't bitter blossoms in this deck, the problem with bringing in fetchers and bitter blossoms in this deck is, firstly, you upset a lot of collectors, you upset the singles market price, and again, if you're putting all these fetchers and high value cards in the Modern event deck, the retailers are definitely going to mark up the MSRP, or going to mark up the price way above MSRP, and it will be prohibitive for newer players to enter the Modern event. And so just take an example of 4 fetchers in this Modern event deck, and that's just about $300, and I think it will retail for about $400 to $500 for the Modern event deck if there were like 4 fetchers and bitter blossoms in this event deck, and paying $300 maybe $300 to $500 for something that a new player did not customize himself and playing a fixed deck wouldn't. I don't really think that anybody would want to buy this if you are a new player. So 75 MSRP. And with a bunch of decent cards to play with, I think it's a fair amount. I think it's a balance. I think it's a good way for new players to come into the Modern format. Yes, it'll not be top tier, but it's not supposed to be this way. If you want to get a top tier deck, you can just spend $1,000 just to get the top tier top 8 decks, and there you go. But that's not really introductory, isn't it? So yeah, that's my take on the Modern event deck. I think Wizard has done an okay job. It's not perfect, but I think it's fine. Let us know in the comments below what you think of the Modern event deck. And I hope you like this episode. And as always, if you'd like to support the channel, please do hit like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.